good to live in Florida. On to the pledge, Mr. Smith.
Yes, sir. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Dear Heavenly Father, we're so thankful for today, Lord. We're just thankful to live in a wonderful community like New Smyrna. We just thank you for all the employees that are here within SBU. We ask you to keep them safe, keep them healthy. Give us good wisdom to operate in the business in a correct way that would be long-term effective. We ask all this in your mighty name, we pray. Okay. Got our safety message this morning by Cody David.
Good morning, Commissioners.
Morning.
My name is Cody David. I'm the System Operations Manager here at New Smyrna Beach Utilities. Today I want to talk about key safety topics for system operators during extreme peak loads. And I want to talk about reliability through safety and operational excellence. So situational awareness is key. We want to identify the high system loads as soon as possible. When they have been identified, we want to assess the situation. We assess our system for outages and bring back anything that we can restore. If we can't restore it, we come up with a contingency plan in order to bring back the load as soon as possible if there were a contingency to happen. Some human performance rules, tools that we use are pre-job briefs, three-way communication, and STAR, stop, think, act, and review. During this, clear communications are the key, proper documentation of system conditions, three-part communications, and the phonetic alphabet. We also coordinate with interconnected utilities such as Duke and FP&L, and we participate in FRCC calls during this. This level of preparedness helps us to operate safely, efficiently, and instill confidence in our actions. Thank you.
Thank you. Appreciate that. Excuse my voice. As much as everything's automated and AI, it's really critical to keep the human factor trained and up to date on safety. So, especially with as many touches as you folks have out there in the field. So, okay. Want to do roll call, Ms. Simmons?
Commissioner Smith?
Here.
Commissioner Conrad?
Here.
Commissioner Devine?
Here.
Vice Chairman Kelly?
Here. Sorry about that. Okay, any changes, additions, or deletions to the agenda?
No, Vice Chairman.
Okay, we'll move on to any public participation. Seeing there is none, we will move to approval of consent items. Nope. Anybody got any questions or? Nope. Then we need a motion to approve consent items.
So moved.
Second.
Ms. Simmons?
Commissioner Smith?
Yes.
Commissioner Conrad?
Yes.
Commissioner Devine?
Yes.
Vice Chairman Kelly?
Yes. Efren's General Manager's report.
Yes, I'd like to ask Cody Gervin to present, and then Winter McNair will also discuss at the end the upcoming budget cycle.
Good afternoon, Commissioners. My name is Cody Gervin. I'm here to present the January financial performance results. Next slide, please. Here are the list of some of the items that I will cover, which include the balance sheet, the income statement, our purchase power, and later a budget kickoff discussion, as Efren just said. That'll be presented by my colleague, Winter McNair. Next slide. So balance sheet, so cash available for operations right now is $18.4 million, which is adequate to support ongoing operations and capital until the expected bond issuance in April of 2026. Out of this, $1.1 million is in our operating account and $8.9 million is set aside for that purchase power reserve. And we have the offset liability with that. Restricted cash consists of 11.1 million in capital connection fees, 3.9 million in customer deposits, which we have the related liability, and then we have 1.4 million that's in a debt placeholder account, which is basically used to pay our debt off, pay our debt payments twice a year. Good news really next month in February, we did receive our 2.3 million in FEMA funds. So we're pretty excited about that. Those are all the expenses happened last year. They were audited as part of the single audit, which the auditors will present those findings to you next month. Currently, we have a $2.6 million receivable on the books for FEMA. So we still have $300,000 out there that we'll hopefully collect sooner than later. Next slide. This is our income statement. We are currently operating at an operating loss of 1.2 million, which is typical for where we stand at this point in the fiscal year. New rates did go in effect on 2/1, so I anticipate that to turn over as an operating income as we climb into our warmer months. That being said, though, compared to last year, our change in net assets are $591,000 higher from where we're at. And that is mainly due to higher operating revenue in all of our service areas. Electric is $220,000 higher, water is $279,000 higher, and reclaimed is $166,000 higher from where we're at this point in last year.
Is it okay to ask questions at this point?
Yes.
You mentioned that the operating loss that we're experiencing now is typical. I take it what you mean by that, it's seasonal. Why doesn't the budget apply the seasonality proactively rather than?
Well, with the income statement, you do have like depreciation expense. That's a straight line depreciation throughout the year. So this is comparing like actuals to actuals instead of the budget. So like we're doing straight line depreciation. So with all the assets, like we have to like basically divide that in 12 months. In order to change that, we'd have to change kind of how we depreciate our assets.
And this is a comparison of this fiscal year to last fiscal year, not versus budget.
Correct. So if like our actual budget does take into consideration the seasonal, like the purchase power cost.
Got it.
Like we will show like between months different allocations for that. This is just comparing actual results to this time last year, fiscal year to date.
Thank you. So I assume the answer to the question is there is seasonality built into the budget and will be
Correct.
in the future?
Yeah.
Great.
And then as we go forward, we'll kind of get into the budget process with you. But right now, this is just actuals compared to actuals.
Okay.
All right. So due to this recent winter storm that we went through, we are experiencing higher purchase power cost, which right now we're currently drawing down on that purchase power reserve, which just positively impacts our revenue this year. Because essentially last year, we're increasing that purchase power reserve. So essentially we're setting money aside and really deferring that revenue recognition until we're actually using those funds for purchase power. So that's going to be like an ongoing message here, because now we're giving our customers that $4.69 credit for purchase power. So we're trying to eat into this reserve, because our main target is getting back to that $5 million on that purchase power reserve. And all this is following the rate study model that we have in place. So our plan is to, in FY26, we have a credit that we're giving to our customers. FY27, we plan to give a credit back to our customers, and then hopefully by that time, we'll be right there at that $5 million target range. So you're gonna see that this positively impacts revenue today compared to last year when we're increasing that reserve. I hope that makes sense.
The revenue side makes a lot of sense. Does this accelerate the use of that purchase power credit when we, as it referred to the rate increases. I know in the rate increase study, we were using purchase power refunds, if you would, probably the wrong term. But does that accelerate that, or we stay as planned?
So we're staying as planned right now, and it's hard too because like any big events, like I'll go in once we get to purchase power, but when Russia invaded Ukraine back in 2022, we experienced really high cost. But our rate study models does anticipate a higher cost of purchase power right now. So like that's all included into the rate model. So basically like we're still on target to where we're at in our rate study model. That hasn't changed with these higher costs. But as we move forward, we'll closely monitor that to make sure we're not shifting from where we want to be in that target, that $5 million target range.
So in summary, the use of this purchase power reserve this last period is in line with the future rate descriptions that we've given all the consumers.
Yes, correct. But that credit doesn't take place till 2/1. So really, the only reason we're using that purchase power reserve right now is because we have higher purchase power costs right now, and that's really related to that winter storm that we just had. Yeah. And I'll kind of go into that in more detail, but typically, I'm kind of jumping a little ahead here, but like typically we expect that natural gas to stay between $3 to $4, and during that winter storm at the end of January, early February, it was over $30 for the day. So there's a few days in there that were like 10 times the cost that we originally expected, which in our rate models, and we anticipate higher cost right now, but you know that's a little bit more than normal. But luckily that cost came back down, and this morning I checked in, it's like in the $3 range. So, but I'll get there once we go through the purchase power graph.
Okay,
Next slide. Next.
go ahead, Cody.
All right. So this is all offset by higher purchase power cost. So as Cody gave the safety message, we sit in calls with the FRCC, which is Florida Reliability Coordinating Council. And just a fact here on 2/1, Florida peaked at its highest load since 2010. And then next slide, please. Basically, I kind of jumped ahead a little bit, but I just wanted to mention that January's average price for that purchase power cost was at $7.72, which I said, like typically it ranges from $3 to $4. All right, days cash on hand is 3.8 months, or 117 days. We have a chart in the appendix that is updated monthly that shows our R&R forecast. Basically, this is showing our money that is set aside for capital projects and compares it to what we're going to spend. Currently, we are not projected to dip into our purchase power reserve until June 2026. Therefore, current cash will support operations until that April 2026 bond issuance. Down below, we're going to talk about consumption, accounts, and revenue. There's no significant changes from what I presented last month. We're still seeing an increase in accounts between 1% to 2% in all service areas. Consumption is comparable. We have a 3% increase in water and a 4% increase in reclaim. Electric here is still the outlier. Believe it or not, we are experiencing a mild winter compared to this time last year. Just so happens like sometimes we're 30 degrees and then the next week will be 80 degrees. It's kind of all over the place with the weather right now. But we do keep track of cooling degree days and heating degree days, which basically tells us like how often our customers will be using their AC and or the heating. And both are down right now compared to this time last year, fiscal year to date. We're 20% down in cooling degree days and 26 down from the heating days. So that kind of supports that 10% decrease in overall consumption. But all that being said, we are still showing positive in all revenues in all of our service areas. Next slide. Fiscal year to date, capital expenditures are $8.7 million. $6.2 million is related to the major projects, which includes the screw press, our Glencoe water treatment pellet softening, which was nice that we all got to go out there and see kind of where that's being taken place and the plans for that. And then we have our AMI electric meters that we're finishing up as well. And then $2.5 million is related to the annual projects. These are projects that are required in order us to complete our operations and kind of stay on task each year. So these include like transformers, installation of conduit and cable, and our condition-placed pole replacements. Yes.
Cody, on the 6.2 million in major projects, how much of that is related to the pellet softening system?
I don't know that off the top of my head, but I can get you that information.
Thank you. Is that the only project that is a capital spend for money that we haven't yet received?
So that's the biggest one right now that's taking place that we'll eventually need or that bond money for. But I can give you the current, like we have a payment plan that's going on with that project right now. So I can give you the exact number of the actual expenses.
So Cody, one clarification, pellet softening probably shouldn't be on here, only because right now it's being paid out of restricted funds, so.
Yeah, maybe a bullet point, a separate bullet point
Yep.
would have been
Yeah,
a
that's
little
fine.
clearer for us.
Okay.
Yeah, the funds being used first for this project are restricted.
Yeah, they are coming out of restricted, but this is just talking about like the capital expenditures altogether as a whole.
So if you would just add next time and provide in between how much that was of the 6.2 million.
Okay.
Next time, if you'd add another bullet point for the restricted funds that were spent that are for capital projects, that would be helpful.
Okay.
Is the pellet project the only capital project out of that restricted fund, or are there multiple?
For water, that would be the biggest one. For wastewater, it's water and wastewater. I'm not certain which the other ones are, but we can get back to you. But that is the largest one right
And
now.
what's the size of that fund?
What, the capital connections?
Yeah, the water.
The
No,
water
restricted
portion,
fund in
it's
total.
probably like maybe, I don't have the exact number, and the water and wastewater makes up like 11 million. So probably out of that, I would say 3 million is a rough estimate, but I can get back to you on the exactly what's available for water.
Thank you.
Yeah, so to that end, yes, if you go to slide 3, capital connection fees, the balance is 11.1 million, and that's split between water and wastewater.
All right, next slide. One back, please, there you go. So this is our purchase power reserve chart. So our purchase power right now is sitting at 8.9 million. That's that blue line in the graph. So as you can see, kind of went back to talk about 2022, when you had the Russia and Ukraine impacts. We were spending more than we were collecting from our customers, so we had to react and increase that fuel cost adjustment at 2130. We built that reserve back in the last few years, and we were able to slowly reduce it from 7 to 6, and then now we're offering our customers a credit to hopefully get back to that $5 million at the end of FY27. So that is the game plan right now, but this can change very quickly. One big event could eat this reserve up pretty quick. But I mean, from where we're at right now, we feel good about the reserve in place, and this reserve is in place to absorb fluctuations in purchase power cost, ensuring stability for our customers.
This is a great chart. Could you, in the future, when you share this chart, kind of lock in today's forward projection of the consumption of this? I think it goes over kind of the next 2 years.
Okay.
Is that right?
Mm-hmm.
But just so we can keep track of the baseline assumption as it relates to our pricing.
Yeah, we can put something together for that.
And then maybe just track actuals against that projection.
Yeah, and we do have, like in the appendix, we do have other charts too with purchase power. Like we have, like it's the cost per megawatt hour between months. And we also, like we compare like year to date for each month, and then we do actuals for each month. That kind of separates it out in the appendix, but maybe we can kind of blend it or something.
That'd be great.
Next slide. So this is our rate proposal and bond issuance timeline. So thankfully, we're farther down on the list right now. The 2-1 new rates were implemented, they were tested, they're updated on our website. Everything went well with that. 323, the commission will be presented an outline of the key terms with the 2026 bond issuance. So we'll set out some key parameters. And if y'all approve that, then the next month we will go hit the market. We will issue the bond if the market conditions are good. So that's kind of the upcoming game plan with that.
Okay.
Next slide. Financial activities, the next workshop, which I believe is March 12th, our Purvis Gray auditors will come and they will be presenting the FY25 audit. And then the next commission meeting, the subsequent meeting, will be the approval of the FY25 audit. And then last but not least.
Sorry, the 12th is the results of the audit?
Yes,
Or
so they'll,
Outline of the audit?
yeah, you just can't approve it during the workshop, so they'll be actually approved
Okay.
in the meeting, but the partner will be here to kind of go through the audit with you. All right, last but not least, we are now kicking off our FY27 budget. Before I turn it over, I want to make it very clear that this budget incorporates our updated rate models that were used for this rate study. We are using these models to guide our capital planning and our capital spending, our cash balances, our purchase power reserves, our O&M cost, and revenue projections to ensure we remain financially on track. With that, I'll turn it over to Winter to discuss the budget timeline and kind of give a high overview of the budget process.
One question before you step down. For the FY26 budget, my recollection is we went forward with a budget that we knew was incorrect because we were in the midst of going through the rate increase, and ultimately we determined a rate that was not the same as the original assumptions around that budget. And when you presented to the city council, the assumption, and I think you confirmed it, was that budget, the FY26 budget, would be redone after we settled on the rate plan. So this is FY27.
Correct.
Can you speak for a minute on the plan for updating the Rev 2 for FY26?
We incorporated that and we presented it here and then we forwarded that revised budget to the city. So we can resend that to you.
Was there approval required from the city, or is it just
No.
passive?
But just passive.
Okay.
Yeah, so we can resend out what we had sent out originally, but we provided an update here, that got updated into the rate study, the Rev-Telus, and then from that, they then developed for the rate study and for the financial feasibility, 27, 28, 29, 30, fiscal year 27, from the rate study that'll be what we compared to for the fiscal year 27 budget that we're doing now.
Okay.
And the 26 was already revised, presented to you or to the commission, and then we forwarded it to the city.
Thank you.
Yeah, so the 4 months of no rate increase did get updated in the rate models. So the good thing is we feel like we just got done doing this, so we have current models to
Yeah.
date. So hopefully FY27 will be a little easier for us to kind of go back to some of those models.
Questions?
Good morning, Commissioners. My name is Winter McNair, and I'm an accountant here at the Utilities Commission. I am going to give you an update on fiscal year 27 budget, and I'm going to start first with our timeline. January 9th, accounting and the GM met, and we discussed our strategy for fiscal year 27 budget. In preparation for our kickoff in March, Human Resources has taken the month of February to work with our senior leadership to determine our staff requirements for fiscal year 27. Today, I'm going to update you on our fiscal year 27 budget process and timeline. March 9th is our company-wide fiscal year 27 comprehensive budget kickoff. April 2026, we have O&M and capital challenge sessions already scheduled. They will include our accounting department, our GM, CEO, and the respective departments. In these challenge sessions, we will review and scrutinize the proposed departmental budgets, making sure that we minimize waste and that we align our resources with our organizational goals. May 2026, at our regular commission meeting, we will plan to have a substantially complete and balanced budget to update the commission with. June 11th is a workshop, and if needed, we will use this time for a fiscal year 27 budget number 2 update. June 22nd, at our regular commission meeting, NSBU commissioners will need to vote on the approval of our fiscal year 27 budget, and this includes the O&M and our CIP 10-year budget. June 23rd, if the budget's approved, we plan to bring it over to the City Commission. During the month of September, the City of NSB will conduct our first and second readings of the required ordinance to approve our NSBU submitted fiscal year 27 budget. Next slide, please.
Excuse me,
Yes.
how does it differ from the prior year's schedule?
We've moved up the completion of the budget from June to May, so we plan to be substantially completed for your commission meeting at the end of May.
Thank you.
You're welcome. This slide outlines how we are approaching our development of the 27 budget. We're using the 2025 rate study models as our foundational planning to ensure consistency between our budget, our long-term forecast, and our rate assumptions.
Would you say that again?
We are going to use our 2025 rate study model.
Thank you. I thought I heard 23.
Okay. Operating costs, including our purchase power, are going to be aligned with our forecasted electric, water, and wastewater demand based on the modeled customer consumption in our rate study rather than a flat increase across the board. Our budgetary line items, which are our cost categories, must maintain appropriate support, and this is consistent with prior year budget cycles. On the capital side, we're going to use the amended 2026 capital improvement plan as a basis for developing our 10-year capital improvement budget. Throughout this entire process, leadership is going to be evaluating cost drivers, risks, and potential offsets to ensure that our budget remains balanced, flexible, and financially sustainable. Overall, this approach will ensure that our 2027 budget is data-driven, forward-looking, and aligned with our long-term financial stability. This concludes my update. Do you have any questions?
I recognize that you probably didn't spend a lot of time preparing the prior year budget, but I'm wondering, is there anything significantly different in this budget process as it relates to what staff is doing from the current one to the prior year?
We have restructured our challenge sessions to be more individualized per department rather than as a group, so that we can get better use of our time, questioning what cost drivers we have, how can we reduce waste, what cost items might be regulatory versus what ones might be volume driven. So we plan to use that time better, and we're also going to use the rate models that we have to help forecast the consumption and the revenues, so that where we can relate the consumption, if something is volume driven, we can relate it in our cost on the other side.
Thank you, I appreciate it.
Yes, ma'am.
Another question on the budget process, just kind of the macro. Typically in a budgeting process, there's kind of a tops down, bottoms up. and you land somewhere in between. And the outline you have here, I think, is doing a great job of collecting the kind of bottoms-up potential costs using previous models and such. What is kind of the tops-down goal as it relates to expenses?
So the
And how does that
top-down
apply?
goal, that's a good question. The work that we did to have that revised amended budget, that then flowed into 2027. So that is, the way we look at this, the top-down was really the Raftellus study, and the way that the 26 budget was revamped, which then led into 27. This then is the bottoms up, but this is where we'll compare the top-down, the model, versus what we're coming up on a revised bottoms-up approach.
And tell me again, what was the study you were referencing?
The Raftellus, the cost, the rate study
The
that we
rate
just
study.
did.
So
Yes.
you have to fit within the
Yes.
current rate
Mhm.
assumption?
Yep.
Is there any pressure on potentially lowering that?
Yeah, there is, because that's why we're doing the bottoms up, to see if we can squeeze additional efficiencies out of it.
Okay.
Yeah.
Will the bond issuance timing have any impact on the completion of the budget?
No. It won't impact it. They'll run in parallel, but they won't. Yeah.
Thank you.
Thanks, Winter.
Thank you.
Thank you.
I believe that's, Chairman, that's it from a unless there's questions.
Mr. Smith?
Tariffs, are they impacting future budgets or existing budgets?
We've dealt with tariffs sporadically in the sense of, so for example, with the AMI implementation, tariffs has come up as it relates to the meters and where they're manufactured. In essence, so far, we haven't had a tariff impact. When we get an increase due to a tariff request, we immediately push back and ask for proof. But really has not been a material impact. I don't know, Maureen, is that a fair?
I would agree with that. I think that the request has been.
Maureen, you may need to come up.
Maureen Lynch, procurement manager. Yeah, the tariffs have not impacted us a lot. As Efren stated, we've had a few requests here and there, which we had already prepared kind of a draft response to, and saying that we're not just going to accept this, you're going to have to prove it in writing, and most of the time, I'd say 99% of the time, it stopped. So,
I was a little bit concerned because I read an article on Florida Trend, my favorite magazine, about the Cape, and they purchased a new crane to lift, they could lift more weight than what they have on currently. They purchased it from Germany and paid $703,000 in tariffs.
Wow.
Pretty scary stuff.
That is. And a lot of our material supplies, it's domestic here. The meters came up because I believe they were manufactured or done some work in Mexico and they were coming over, I believe.
yes, but then there's components, so
Yes.
what piece comes from what country?
Yep.
Kind of thing. So for them to be able to prove that, which in the end, I think they just backed down.
Correct. That's exactly what. But no, you bring up a good point. But luckily, most of our stuff we're buying domestic.
Thank you.
Good question, good response, that once you challenge them, they back off of it. That's,
I like that.
yeah.
Thankfully.
Thank you very much.
Thanks, Maureen.
Any other questions, address? Otherwise, council's report, Ms. Ramos?
Good morning, everyone. Just a couple quick updates on some of the legislation we talked about at the last meeting. Senate Bill 1566, which is the Local Government Financial Transparency and Accountability Act, is moving. That's the one that is prohibiting municipalities from transferring utility revenue to fund general government functions. It requires the surplus revenue of a utility to be reinvested into the utility or returned to ratepayers. And as I reminded you all last time, in the special act creating NSBU, 6% of your gross revenues go each year to the city. So that's something that we'll keep watching. And then the sovereign immunity bill is also moving, so that looks like there might be a chance for that to pass with the updated and larger increased caps this year. And then also another reminder that the NSB, New Smyrna Beach, is going to be appointing a new commission member on the 24th of February. And that's it.
Thank you. Did I see an article about, says it Palm Coast or Flagler with water, and they changed their rulings from the commission can't approve the sale of the utilities, it has to go to the commission, then go to the voters? Is that, did you see that?
I did not see that,
Okay.
but I can look for it.
Yeah, that was just curious on that.
What city was that?
I think it was Flagler.
Okay.
Flagler or Palm Coast or somewhere up there, but there must be something motivating it behind the scenes to make that kind of adjustment midstream, so
Okay.
just curious. I want to make sure we're up to date with that, so. Oh, moving on, old business. Approval of draft RFP 0726 audit services.
Thanks, Maureen.
Good morning again. Maureen Lynch, Procurement Manager. At the last regular commission meeting held on January 26th, the commission made an initial determination of commissioners to serve as the Audit Selection Committee for the upcoming procurement. Commissioners Conrad, Kelly, and Smith were approved to serve as the Audit Selection Committee members. The next consideration in the process is the approval of the draft RFP, which is included in your agenda package as Exhibit 1. The timeline in the draft RFP allows for oral presentations by submitting firms if requested by the selection committee. Additionally, in connection with the evaluation process, the commission may determine by majority vote to dispense with any cone of silence requirement. This would permit individuals, proposers, or vendors to have contact directly with the NSBU staff and commissioners. Any such communication would be in compliance with the Sunshine Law. The cone of silence is designed to protect the integrity of the procurement process by shielding it from undue influence prior to any recommendation of award. Today, we're asking for a motion to approve the draft RFP, associated scope and timeline, as well as a motion if dispensing with any cone of silence requirement for this solicitation.
Okay. Mr. Ramos, did we leave a provision in there if Jeff wanted to be added? I thought we had that discussion at the last meeting.
We can adjust who's on it. I mean,
Yeah.
that's, yeah.
Yep.
So,
I think it was just a courtesy since he wasn't here that you didn't want to told him since he wasn't at the meeting.
He was way far away from here.
Exactly.
so I guess we just need to let Maureen know who
Yes.
on the commission.
I'd like to participate if possible.
Okay, no, that makes sense. So let's confirm, so it's,
We make a motion or anything like
do
that
we
to
need a
Simmons?
motion?
We made a motion for the 3. Do you want to make a motion for the 4?
Absolutely.
Okay.
Make a motion to add Jeff Wine on.
Yeah, that's fine. I can add him.
Okay,
Okay.
Why don't we go ahead and make a motion for the 5 once the 5th one gets on board?
Well, if we get that many, I'll drop off. That's enough great minds.
So
We need a second.
I had a question.
We
Who
need a
drafted the draft RFP?
The original scope was drafted by staff and has been updated over the years. We rebid this every 4 years, and staff is able to update the scope every time we rebid it. And it's being given to you today. If you feel you want to update the scope, you can do that as well.
I don't think there's anything you can possibly add to it.
That's good.
No, I just think about being a contractor and looking at that
Right, right.
scope, and I would say, I don't know, that's a lot of stuff.
It's pretty typical, though.
and it had legal review as well from Ms. Ramos.
Yes.
Council.
And then we still need a second,
need a
I think,
second,
for the,
yep.
exactly.
on adding Jeff?
You want to
Commissioner
finish that
Devine.
motion? I don't want to end all discussion though. so-
Okay, nope, we'll go.
No, I'm
Do-
fine with doing the discussion after the vote.
It was just the motion, or the second to add Commissioner Devine. I think that's where we are right now.
I'll second that motion.
Okay, ready for that motion? Commissioner Smith,
Yes.
Commissioner Conrad,
Yes.
Commissioner Devine,
Yes.
Vice Chairman Kelly.
Yes. Okay. More discussion on that? Do you want-
Maureen, are you finished with your presentation?
Yes.
Okay, then I'd like to ask a couple of questions. We just briefly now got into a discussion about the scope of work and the RFP process that the contractors are required to follow. I didn't look at it in its entirety, but based on prior years, this is pretty typical of the type of RFP that goes out to CPAs for contracts of this type. I didn't see anything unusual in it. It is long. I've filled those out in the past. It's extremely time consuming, but only the larger firms are going to respond to this request, and they're used to doing it. They have the template, they have the staff, and they can do it in 1/25th of the time it takes me to do it as a sole proprietor.
That's
So,
correct.
based on that, I don't see a problem, but I would like to know if we could have availability to, I know it's being advertised publicly, but are you sending out invitations to bid to specific firms such as our previous firm and firms that have bid on it in the past, or is it just the public notice?
We can send invitations to firms. We will let Purvis Gray know that it's out and send it to them directly. And if you have a list of vendors that you're interested in doing business with, you can send that to me, and I can, when it advertises on VendorLink, I'll send it to them at the same time.
Okay, thank you.
Where does this get published?
We use a internet bidding site called VendorLink. We've had a lot of success with it. We reach a very large audience.
Unfortunately, I think we only had 2 bids last time.
I think that's correct, yes.
Interesting.
Do you want to refine the RFQ, or you're just
No,
making notes of it?
no.
Yeah, okay.
I think standardization and consistency win.
Any other questions, comments? Okay.
Do you need something from us?
Yes, we need a motion to approve the draft RFP,
Yep.
as well as a decision as to whether or not to dispense with the cone of silence requirement.
So moved.
To dispense with the cone of silence?
Can you go into the cone of silence a little bit more for me? That's not a term I'm familiar with.
Heather, do you want to, Ms. Ramos, do you want to talk about that?
Absolutely. So there's a big paragraph, it's paragraph 7 in the RFP, the way it's drafted right now, which prohibits vendors from talking to staff and talking to commission members about the RFP and influencing someone to select them, that kind of thing. So that cone of silence language is currently in the draft, but in the procurement process for the Utility Commission, you have the ability as a commission to take the cone of silence language out of a proposal if you want to. But then the best practice would be if you do have a proposed vendor speak individually to you, the best practice is to say during the meeting, I spoke with, say, Purvis or somebody like that, and let the public know what the discussions have been, so it doesn't look like there's anything that's been done outside of the sunshine to affect your decision. So anyway, the language is currently in the draft, the cone of silence language, but the commission has the ability to say, we don't want that cone of silence language in there.
Does that cone of silence basically keep you out of trouble with sunshine?
Well, it's not a sunshine law violation for a commission member to talk to a proposed vendor. It's more of just being transparent to the public when a vendor is selected, how that vendor was selected. So I think a cone of silence, I think it's good to have language in your proposals,
That's
in
what
your
I was gonna
RFPs. Yes, I think it's a
I
good
was gonna ask you
thing.
best practice. I
Yes.
mean, is that what the typical
Yes.
utilities
Well,
commissions do, or?
typical businesses do that. Typical
okay.
public businesses have a cone of silence in there because there is a process always in an RFP or RFQ where a vendor can ask questions, but they have to follow the process in the RFP or RFQ about asking questions. They can't just call up the vice chair or the commission member and go, hey, we want you to select us, what it is that we need to do, that kind of thing.
Right.
Or call Maureen and ask questions. They need to follow the process that's in the RFP itself.
Many, many years ago, the bigger problem was that the calls would come in with, if there was no cone of silence, to try and rig prices.
Okay.
I retract my motion for eliminating the cone of silence.
So we're
So-
talking about a motion to approve
Approve.
the draft RFP, including the cone of silence language.
Correct.
Correct.
And I'll make that motion.
Second.
Thank you.
That was
Thank
Kevin,
you.
seconded?
Yes.
Okay, thank you. Ready to vote?
Yes. Sorry.
Commissioner Smith?
Yes.
Commissioner Conrad?
Yes.
Commissioner Devine?
Yes.
Vice Chairman Kelly?
Yes. Next up, item B, scheduling requests, special NSBU commission meeting for GM and CEO annual salary determination performance.
I'll ask Heather Carasalis to come up.
Good morning. Heather Carazales, Support Services Senior Manager. This is just the agenda item to approve a special meeting before your regular monthly meeting in March next month. Just as a reminder, though, it would start at 8 a.m. instead of 9 a.m. So that will be early on a Monday morning, but it would be to discuss the GM CEO's performance evaluation for 2025, as well as any salary increase you may want to award to him.
So Heather, does this mean that the evaluations need to be completed before the March meeting?
Correct. His performance evaluations are due from you by March 16th, which will be after the March 12th workshop when you receive the audit results.
Okay.
All right. Motion to pass item B. Any questions, commissioners?
What date is that
Is it-
meeting?
Yeah.
March 23rd.
23rd.
This is a very tight timeline, and I actually thought we were going to do this in April. So to me, it's a bit of a surprise, and it is tight. And for me personally, March 15th is a deadline.
Oh, yeah, yes. Would it be a problem to move it to April?
I was surprised that we moved the budget, the annual audit to a workshop instead of, as historically has been done, at a regular board meeting. So that moved it up the 2 weeks so that this schedule that Heather has presented could be accommodated. I actually thought we were looking at the budget, at the audit at the March board meeting, and then we would finish the evaluation and be ready for the approval of the change at the April meeting, so.
There was some discussion in January, I believe it was, and I know that you had mentioned performing the evaluations after receiving the audit. Commissioner Devine mentioned pushing the timeline to 1 month, which I think was where it was voted upon, but if you would like to extend that by 1 month, we can certainly do that. We just need a motion for a vote.
Any other discussion? Mr. Devine?
I think just in general, the sooner we can give feedback, the better. I hate to push it off another month.
All right.
But if there's a issue, I can be supportive.
So we're going to review the audit, which I don't anticipate any problems in the audit.
Right.
On the March 12th. workshop, commissioners' workshop. And then we're 2 days later or 3 days later, we're going to have the evaluations completed.
Right, the 16th.
Correct.
And then we would approve the salary change on the 23rd
Correct.
of March. Okay, just make sure you have that in your head, because that's what
It's a lot.
we're approving.
Do you want to propose a
I'm-
different timing?
I'm gonna let somebody else do that.
I mean, we're not anticipating any audit grade
No.
information.
No,
And
not.
most of the review, I mean, I'm already done with what I feel like, so I don't know. It's, Commissioner Vine it was his proposal to begin with, so I'm gonna let you make that.
I mean, for me, today, I would think we maintain the current schedule, and if there's anything along the path that comes up that is not workable, we can change it at that point.
You good? Okay. So that we can stay with approving this, and that would continue on that path then, correct?
Correct.
So we need to approve item B. Somebody needs to make a motion to approve item B, and we'll stay on that current path.
Motion to continue with item B as scheduled.
Second.
Ready? Commissioner Smith?
Yes.
Commissioner Conrad?
Yes.
Commissioner Devine?
Yes.
Vice Chairman Kelly?
Yes.
Thank you.
Thank you, Heather. Any new business?
I have two items that I'd
Go ahead.
like to bring up. The first one is dealing with the strategic real estate and facility optimization review. I have a handout. Can I just give that to you now?
Yes.
Debbie, is that okay?
We can do that, no problem.
Yeah, okay.
Usually, we would put it like under 8, but that's fine.
Just pass that down.
Oh, we got new business?
Yes.
So by way of background, just to bring everyone up to speed, there was a small team that was assembled really to take previous information presented to the Utilities Commission, and of course, that was all information that was presented when I was not on the board, so it was a good learning process for me as it related to this, the strategic direction of the Western Complex. And in the summary, essentially what I found was there have been two proposals made to the commission. One is I would characterize as a developer partnership, and the other was a UC managed transaction around the various properties that the Utilities Commission owns. And I also tried to pull in any kind of new relevant information associated with with this decision around how to move forward with any kind of possible relocation of this facility and the sale of the property at the Western Complex. And essentially, you know, both proposals that I found were similar, and then in some cases fairly different. And one of the original intents was to kind of look at the proposed valuations of the two proposals, again, the developer partnership versus UC managed. And I think what I found was at this point, pulling that together, pulling those estimated costs together would probably be a little mature. As you'll see here in the outline of this, I'm going to propose a first minor kind of first step, and that is that we, you know, summarize kind of where we are with these two proposals, and then try to bring forward the proper model as we make decisions around this topic. And the first one, I think, is, for me, has always been about, how do you value this property? And how do we strategically get the most value out of this property, and then utilize a model moving forward that would give us the best outcome for the Utilities Commission. The other kind of major event is, as we all know, that has occurred during this last year, is a decision to take on another $80 million of debt, and that is going to fulfill very important capital projects. But I do think that additional debt really limits how we move forward together as a utility. The two characterizations of those proposals that were made, one was the Fishkind and the other was by Sunterra. In the Fishkind report, it required the UC to really have probably a balance of approximately $50 million as facilities were sold, land was developed, and I think those numbers are probably, that's the rough approximate number that was given. It's probably gone up since then. And so evaluating these two, given the debt service that we're about to take on, in my view, kind of the next step would be to make a decision on these two proposals. Again, the developer partnership or the one managed kind of internally by the UC. My recommendation is to move forward with some form of a developer partnership, because that would eliminate the UC from having to take on any further debt. And so that in my view is kind of the prudent next step. And then throughout this process, what I've tried to do is develop kind of a formula, if you would, on how we'll optimize and understand the value of this land and whether these developer partnership transactions are justified and are the smart thing for the UC to do. As if you compare those two partnership models and the UC managed model, the expectation around how that land was developed was at times pretty significantly different. And that gave valuation to that land that we own in very different ways. And so the point by which we'll understand the value of that land is going to be directly tied to how that land can ultimately be rezoned. And that is kind of, I think, the crucial kind of milestone for us is how that land gets rezoned, and then the consequential bids we'll get on the development of each of those parcels. And so for today, what I was hoping we could do was move forward with at least a small kind of baby step, if you would, of taking these two proposals that have been presented to the UC and determine one direction or the other. And that would be either to move forward with the kind of UC managed or to start to pursue a developer partnership. And the process by which we would pursue either would have many kind of RFQ steps in it, but it would ultimately, both would mean that the UC will have to kind of move forward with some sort of proposal toward the city commission on how that land would be utilized and how we would optimize for not only the UC but potential other kinds of entities that would use that land. So in today's request, it would be to move forward with the developer partnership, and then we'll expand from there how that is done. But getting, the high level, in my review, what I believe has occurred in the past is there's been two proposals made to the UC. Both proposals were also presented to the city council, and then that next step on which direction to go, either with the Fishkind or the UC managed or the developer partnership, that decision was not made. And so my proposal today is to move forward with a developer proposed partnership model, not selecting who the developer is or anything like that, but just to move in that direction as a means of next step.
So, maybe it's, Mr. Ramos, if we pressed forward with, the final approval goes to the city commission on everything anyway, is that correct?
Correct. And when we discussed the developer partnership issue in the past, because of the fact that the utility commission has a specific purpose of just being a commission for
Commission,
utilities, we did discuss that the city would likely have to be a party to the partnership process, because this is kind of a little bit outside of the purview of what the utility commission was set up for. So, I mean, I think having the idea of how to move forward is fine, but we just need to make sure we're stepping the right way as we move forward.
Right, because as a commission, I mean, as a utility, we don't want to lose control of the property, but it's also, you start partnering with an outside developer, you're going to get plenty of phone calls, and that's really not our roles here per se as on the commission. Not that, I don't talk to people about it all the time, but, I think Jeff used the term, there's a belief out there, there's 10% of the population that anything improved is got some kind of deal cut behind it, so.
Yeah.
But I tend to lean, and Jeff, thank you for putting all that together, and I tend to lean with the developer partnership. I mean, they can get roads put in, they can get zoning done, they have the attorneys, they have the staff to do all
Right.
that, and we're not equipped. The more I've thought about this since Buddy was here, the more we're just not equipped to do that. Not that staff isn't excellent and can't be challenged with it and would be fun and all that kind of stuff, but it's fun $50 million, and none of us want to take that risk. So,
And I think especially in light of the bond that we're going to pursue, going the UC managed model is just too difficult at this time. And so I think if we go the partnership model, the real focus for the UC is how do we maximize the value of all the properties and how we go forward. And so this would just be a directional vote, if you would, we start to explore the means by which we could best optimize the developer model. And for the UC to maximize all these assets, it will have to be done with the city, because the only way to maximize the value of that land is to have it rezoned, and that'll go right through the city, of course.
it should be done through the city,
Right.
right? So, and as far as debt, I mean, and my understanding, it's very complicated being in a private versus public sector, and
Yes, I know that the Fishkind proposal had, there would be short-term financing, and then it was and then, of course, as you develop, then the assets, then you sell, and then cover that. But yes, that then, in the developer-led model, that risk would transfer, it would be more on the developer
we're
side.
taking in revenue from an outside our spectrum into an entity that is in power and water business, and, and it's very difficult. I mean, debt is set up for public utilities. I mean, you have to acquire debt to do anything.
Yeah, of course, for the
improvement,
assets.
So
Yeah.
it makes it impossible. So I'm glad you went through this, because, we've been kicking it around for a while, and it's a very valuable piece of property, and it's going to get more valuable. I don't care what the interest rates or economy looks like. Western New Smyrna Beach is going to continue to grow, so we need to do something with it. And like I said, I think the developer partnership, that needs to be vetted incredibly well. But, you and I both know, we all know sitting here, there are people that can move the needle. I mean, you're talking about county, state, maybe even, national adjustments out there to get all the infrastructure and roads and things like that put in. And I don't think Williamson's scheduled to be put through 5 years from now or something. Was that they told us?
It's in the 10-year, but it's not approved from a funding standpoint.
Yeah.
I'd like to add, so for your information, how we got to where we stopped. We stopped because of the road. There was no commitment, no funding commitment, no actual time frame. And I think moving it and spending any more energy until that issue is resolved is a waste of time. And that road is the key to the entire project. Without access, you're just playing games, and without knowing a time frame, you're just playing games. So I would not support the concept either way, whether we did it as a unit or we did a joint partnership, because that road issue is still outstanding, and until that is resolved, we will have plenty of time. Once the road issue is resolved, we will have plenty of time to do all this, but not now.
Good.
That's my opinion.
I'll go back and reiterate, I think by look, I mean, we don't have to commit to doing it, but I mean, getting a developer involved, I mean, those developers, I mean, they know what they can get done and what they can't get done.
Right.
Before they get into it, and I mean, you look at the interchange and everything that's gone on, there, it's not our business, it's their business. That's how they conduct business, that's what they do. And, you gotta look at, from a utilities commission, the faster the western corridor grows, the more solid our utility becomes because of the dollars that are flowing through it and the structure that we have. And so that would just be my opinion with it. We're not committing to doing it, but we're committing to looking at developers and see what they say. And ultimately, it would be our decision before it goes to commission to say, hey, there's no road, we're not gonna do it.
Yeah.
But,
And I would think that in a partnership model, given the right selection of a partner, they would help facilitate, getting the road completed and, all the multiple entities that would have to support and approve something like that. So this is kind of a fork in the road, if you would, to me. There were two proposals. One which is highlighted now, that it's gonna take a lot of capital for the UC to transact. The other is kind of the lighter model, but our focus then as the UC becomes how do we maximize the properties throughout the whole process.
Okay. I bit my tongue.
I've been waiting for this.
First of all, thank you very much for getting this thing going. I really, really appreciate it, because we've spent a lot of time talking about it over the last 4 years at least. So when you came on board and you offered to do this, I was pleasantly pleased with it, and so I commend you for taking this on. That having been said, did you have any other ideas that you threw out about a plan? I mean,
I
there's
think
something
there-
I pushed for early on, probably 9-10 months ago, and I still feel like it's an option. But I just wanted to know if you'd considered anything.
I think the one hybrid to this would be whether this facility could be freed up temporarily while waiting for the Western Complex to be developed. And that would allow the transaction of this building and to start on that. But I think that all of the properties are so intertwined, and the funding model to get a developer to facilitate all those buy-sells, I think would be extremely difficult. One, as far as looking for Class A, New Smyrna property that could house, the team here, and there really just isn't anything in New Smyrna that could house the 60 to 100 people that we have in this site. So that was one track that was explored for a bit, but I think that all the pieces are gonna have to come together, especially if we're not the financier of all the components of this.
Right, and I certainly would much prefer not having us be the financer of anything, so.
Right.
Okay.
And what was your hybrid or the? other one
I
you were
actually
thinking?
would like to see us abut the space that we need up to the existing plant facility, use the existing road to get to it, and do that separate and sell everything else off.
I did look at that as well, and the value of that land as zoned, I think it would be very significantly less than if the UC and the city collaborate together to get the rezoning done. If we were just to sell that property today, I think the value compared to, you know, however it ends up being rezoned would be substantially less. So did not explore that direction either.
Thank you.
The other part, besides the road, which is my major concern, is the wetland issue. And I think without having an understanding of how much developable land you actually have, we do not have a formal wetland survey
Correct.
of the property. And I would say that would be a first step, is to find out how much you got before you start talking about what you're gonna do with it. And those are the two things that are key to the development process, is access, number one. Two, how much developable land do you have? And how much is gonna be taken up in buffers, if you want you to do the wetland identification, you still have buffers to be taken into account. So the net available land is a critical factor in determining the value of that land, in my opinion at least.
Yeah,
Yeah, I was gonna say, in both proposals, the wetlands were addressed. And if you look in the table that I created there, you'll see, you can compare and contrast the two proposals as it relates to zoning. And the wetlands are an assumption that both proposals had outside of the rezoning.
What was the acreage of the wetlands based upon?
I'm not sure in the fish kind.
There is no study done on the wetlands. If you're gonna talk about wetlands, you need a professional identification of the wetlands, not just some conjecture as to how many wetlands are there. You get into that issue, it gets very complicated, and you can unearth issues you don't wanna deal with.
I don't disagree with you, and I do agree with you, but I don't think we're gonna, by entering into a study to do a developer partnership, they would have to do all that.
Of course.
So where we don't have to do that. I mean,
Right.
I have a personal interest in the sense I would have to recluse myself from a boat.
Yeah.
I back up to that preserve, my home
Right.
does, and I like it that way. But in reality, I've realized that, hey, guess what? I'd rather have the city and responsible growth take over there than just some massive developer in a partnership with the city. And I do feel like there would be environmental responsibility as well as commercial developability if we went with the commercial developer, but it's governed by the city in a sense as to what we do. And I feel like that's the best for.
Well, the other issue excuse me if I may,
Yeah,
the other
no,
issue
I'm-
was brought up was the backflow during EM that occurred when from plantation, they moved it across and
Yeah.
it came back.
Yeah.
That's something that needs to be addressed early. How is that going to be resolved?
Yeah, it's an issue. I mean, I had a high water truck in my front yard, basically, so it's, I think that it might actually even could help or something. But I think what we're trying to decide here is just which direction we move, and do we want to do it ourselves, or do we want to go through the developer route? And for me, not even committing to moving forward with it, I'd rather get a developer's opinion, somebody that does it professionally. And Dr. Fishkind is awesome. I find him fascinating and
Right.
interesting, and he's done some tremendous things. But I as a utility person, I don't want to be involved in land development. It's just an iffy thing. It's so much subject to market, economy, recessions, all types of things. We have to stick with power and water, right?
But we got more than one proposal from outside, is that correct? Lillian? We got more than one proposal.
I
We
don't
had
think
several
so.
responses
I
to the
bet-
RFP that we sent out.
Well, There was 3 responses, but they were different ideas. They weren't I'd have to go back and revisit and send them to you, but there were other responses. They just weren't, this one was a public-private partnership. I don't think there was another one submitted like that.
Okay.
So, and I'd be interested to see, even with, we have some local developers that, once they find out that New Smyrna is serious about doing it, may be very interested in partnering. They're already working the corridor, you know,
Yeah.
from Daytona on down to New Smyrna. So, I mean, I would go ahead and I would make a motion to and basically making a motion to continue to take a look at going toward, directing towards a developer partnership, not Sun Tierra, but just a developer
Yeah,
partnership.
and-
So I'll make a motion to move forward with that.
I will second that motion if we are going to have a discussion after the second is made.
Okay, we can do that. Ms. Raymond, Ms. Simmons?
Well,
You made a second?
we're not going to vote
Oh,
on it until
okay,
my
okay,
discussion.
okay, go ahead. Go ahead.
Sorry about that.
That's okay.
Jeff, what do you anticipate the cost of whatever's going to be done in this vein over the next 6 months?
Good question.
It is a good question. I would say, I don't think it's a line item budget at this point. I think it's building a project plan that allows us to build RFQs for proposals from third-party developers. And I would anticipate in the next 6 months that we maybe get through an RFQ process that has us narrow the scope to one or two developers. And then the steps beyond that will then probably be the selection of that partner, and the expenses, you know, in trying to develop proposals on the zoning would come from the developer, not from the utilities.
Okay. We need to consider that as the budget process starts as well. Second, I imagine we're going to have public meetings, workshops that are only for this purpose, meetings for the public, meetings in the sunshine. What do we need to think about from the perspective of noticing so that we can begin further discussions? And I would defer to Ms. Ramos to interject anything that she would like to. So if we move forward with this, at what point do we need to start including notification of discussions? Because
Whenever
we're really
the-
discussing something that's not on the agenda right now.
Correct.
And we're trying to vote on it.
So if you have, and I've talked to Commissioner Devine about his group. His group can do fact-finding and like what Commissioner Devine is doing right now is just providing a report to the commission. But if there's going to be decisions made, like even narrowing down a list of things that the commissioner says, here's what we would like you to look at, those types of meetings all need to be in the sunshine. And we really need to think about when we need to get the city involved. Does the city need to be involved in the RFQs, the RFPs? Because we really cannot allow I don't want to allow the commission to go beyond the scope of what it is that the commission does, which is utilities. And when you're putting out things like, we're looking for a developer to do this. I mean, we asked for an RFI, which was the request for
Right.
information the first time. But when we get a little further, I think we really, and this is something that maybe Commissioner Devine would like to think about a little bit more, get maybe a joint workshop with the city at some point before it gets too far. But that's just my thought. I mean, that's not a legal thing. That's something that's just a thought.
That's
just
an excellent
to
thought.
throw out there. And because I don't want a legal challenge for someone saying, hey, Utility Commission, you don't have the authority to be asking developers for, what they want to do, that kind of thing. I want to protect you guys from.
Yeah,
Right,
but
it-
if you remember, we had a joint meeting. And what did the commissioners say at that joint meeting? do what you want to do.
Exactly.
Right.
They would take no part.
I said, do what you want to do. I mean, but I do believe now that things changed a little bit.
Yes.
The issues are still, there's still some big issues that are unresolvable at this point.
Well,
But I think having a joint meeting as a subject of that joint meeting again, to see if they still feel that way. Or they
Right.
or they don't like the ideas that were.
And I think the intent of the motion or Jeff's thing, we don't have it written up, is to just move forward in that direction, rather than, it's taking off the table the fact that we're gonna build a complex through the NSBU and the city of New Smyrna doing a job. This is just a direction to go, say, hey, we're gonna commit to at least taking it a step further, getting some ideas, thoughts, real serious situations, so that we're not sitting here talking about it a year from now.
Yeah.
And that's my intent that is my intention for pushing forward, for the,
Well, I would think having the blessing of the commission before we make this decision is not a bad idea. It's a good idea, because we haven't put this before them in the past, is that correct?
Correct.
We did not present this proposal to them in the past.
Yeah, I think the city has seen both proposals,
yeah.
for sure.
I think the city is waiting for us to come up with
Right.
something for them.
Right. And
That's
this is
my,
And this is a first directional step. And I would think, I think it's one that is pretty intuitive. I'm not sure that we get pushback from the city, and I say that with confidence because as commissioners, I think for us to pursue a debt service path where we're gonna take on another 50 million in debt in order to facilitate these transactions, I think there's, and by the way, all the associated risk with
Correct.
buying and selling and building, I think it's just, it's very clear the path that we have to take. Now, the details of that path, the milestones associated with that path, all have to be developed, and then we can go to the city with a proposal around something more clear than this kind of very wide set of options that we're dealing with today. So this is a bit of a narrowing that I think has been largely triggered just by the debt service that would be required for the other option.
and Mr. Smith, I agree with you long before we get there. I mean, this building is a great piece of property for Canal and for the city of New Smyrna. I mean, they're land challenged on Flagler and Canal for things, and so I think the city has to, at some point, once we get something going in the right direction, get involved, and it's ultimately gonna be their decision anyway,
Yeah.
right? Is that correct, Mr. Ramos, the whole approval of it? Yes, so, but my motion was to, hey, I wanna use an outside developer. I'm not interested in spending 50 million bucks of, money that we need for water and power. And we never know what's gonna happen with water or power here in Florida with storms and droughts and things like that, so
And while in this document, you'll see, some very, very high-level milestones, this phase 3 and 5. If we do go forward with this, what I would propose is to bring back to the commission a set of more detailed milestones associated with the initial step, and that would be this kind of RFQ, the interfacing with the city, and that would be, in my view, kind of the next decision we make.
All right, Commissioner Conrad?
Okay, that's the last question I had.
Okay. And your second was contingent upon a couple questions, so are we good? Ms. Simmons?
Unless somebody else has discussion.
Mr. Smith? Sorry.
I think, maybe I'm really wrong about this, but I think what we do here is subject to public review. Here's a non-agenda item that we're gonna make a decision on, and a motion, an action on, without any public input, without even any notice prior to the meeting that this issue was coming up. I mean, there might be some, what I've seen in the work I've done is you can get a lot of input from the public if you give them an opportunity to be there. And we're not giving them an opportunity.
No,
in
we
this
gave a
particular-
group of people an opportunity to put their input in, but we didn't give the public.
Right.
And what Commissioner Devine has presented is what that group of people who are residents in the community with some expertise in the area, and I don't know much about them at all. But at any rate, I agree with you, Commissioner Smith. The ability for the public to have had some participation in it is probably something that would be preferred.
Mhm.
And I don't know, Jeff, do you think that if we tabled this decision, noticed it for the workshop, and sought participation there, it would negatively impact your ability to move forward in the next 2 weeks?
Well, I think
So
the
what,
expansiveness of the proposals at hand, you know, is just so wide.
yeah,
And to gather public input on this breadth of options, I think could potentially be not as valuable as a more narrow discussion once we take this first step. So I think for sure, there's enormous amounts of work to do with the public and get input with the public. But if we start opening public discussion for this small step of whether we take on financing, which I think as Utility Commission, we have the responsibility to make that decision, and I think it's a financial one for us.
Right.
We're just not gonna, in my view, take on this level of debt in order to facilitate this transaction. So once we have a path, I think then we can narrow it and start to share more broadly the ideas and then get input on broader ideas from the public.
Okay, well, this discussion's gonna go on longer
Right,
than
and
you
I-
want, because I'm gonna bring up something else again.
okay.
We haven't given anybody an opportunity to know something was on the agenda. Can we just get a consensus amongst the group of us here to have you move forward with considering this object as opposed to voting on it? Is that a compromise that you would consider? And first of all, I guess, Ms. Ramos, is that permissible?
Absolutely. You can have a consensus now. You could even put another discussion item on the next commission meeting and take action if you want to do a motion. And then you have the ability for anyone that wants to make a public comment during the public comment time, during their 3 minutes, they could make a public comment on it.
I'd be happier with that solution.
Well, we have a motion,
I'm
right?
getting damn well tired of bringing up items that are not agenda. It's not fair to anybody to not have just to bring up an item. I appreciate the work you've done, but there's a procedure to follow on these things.
All right, we just went through one of those.
That one was enough for me, because I thought that was ludicrous, terrible, horrible thing to do. But let's just follow procedure. You have a suggestion for an item, put it on the next agenda and give everybody,
Well, I
and
don't
it's
know.
public notice
Yeah.
that this is a discussion we're going to have.
I agree with you to the point of having something on the agenda that should be on the agenda. The idea is there's nothing to present to the public, so if we do have a public hearing or have something open to the public, they can't comment,
They can only comment on this because they'll see
That's all we're
this,
going to have them comment on.
right.
which is
and
all all we have in front of
I guarantee if
us.
you move forward with that, you'll have a room full of people from the Western Hemisphere out there. Every time there's anything out there, the city commission chamber's full, you stand outside the door. So, and growth is a very sensitive issue in the county, so
The only problem with that logic is that you're just putting off the inevitable. At some point, they're gonna come in
That's correct. That is
with the
correct.
torches and everything, and they're not gonna be happy that you're doing anything out there. I understand that. But nip it in the bud, do it, get the public involved right from the get-go. That's the best part of what we do is have their involvement so we can solicit their opinions and find out what they're thinking about things.
So I don't think we'll get a vote on it today, that we'll push it through anyway. So
Right.
how do we go about getting it on the agenda for Ms. Simmons for the next meeting, Commissioner Devine?
You just stated that, if that's what you wish, so you want to pull the motion off.
You want to pull the motion?
Yeah, let's pull the motion.
And then put it on the next agenda?
Yep.
And we're just talking only about the developer partnership model?
Correct.
Perfect.
Okay.
Sorry, I wasn't clear.
Yeah, should we put both of them on there? And, I mean, if the public's gonna decide, that's, I mean, do we
Well,
wanna
the
give?
public isn't gonna decide.
Not decide, but do we want them to hear both side, both
Well,
options?
we can put that in the items, that
Yes.
this discussion
Yep.
occurred.
This
And
is just
Exactly.
yeah,
this
we can
is-
give a little background on it,
Right.
and then y'all.
Discussion
make
of options for the
Motion.
future development
And
of
this is
the,
this is the board packet.
Yes, that's an attachment.
thank you.
Yes, sir.
Okay, so is it the next workshop or the next meeting?
If you
Commission.
want action, it'd be the next regular meeting on the
Okay.
23rd.
So I will,
Do you want,
But
Jeff,
that
do
is
you
the
want to, do you want to discuss it at the workshop and get that particular public comment out of the way? We can't vote on it, but we could have the discussion we've just had, actually.
yeah, I think
And
that would
then
be,
vote on it.
I think that would be good, and I'll add to this document in a way that it better describes initial first steps, and especially as it relates to the city, and what we would do as it relates to an RFQ with a developer.
And the impact on budget current year and future year. Okay,
Excellent.
is that good?
Okay,
Yeah, I like that part.
yep, yep. All right.
Huh?
Possible, anytime, anybody comments, any more to
Yeah,
add to
are
the?
we at 8 now?
Yes. Yep.
I'll yield to somebody else first, but I do have some things to say.
I'm ready to hear you say them, so you might as well just jump right on that.
Okay. Number one, I want to make it clear to everybody here and to the public that my comments regarding the delay or the compression of the timeline to complete the evaluation and determine the salary increase for the CEO is not based on anything negative at all. I fully support the work that has been done. I just wanted to work on the process. So please, if you were thinking otherwise, that is not what it was about. It was not personal. It was moving something up that I thought had been changed, and I didn't understand why we were doing it. After discussion, I understand it, but please understand, everyone, it had nothing to do with performance at all of the person involved, okay?
Thank you.
Are all good?
All good.
I want to see smiles. Second, we are supposed to be voting on what are we voting on the 23rd? The bond proposal? When
Yes.
will we get the paperwork so we can take a look at it before we get there?
We're putting everything together now. It'll be well before that, so that's
Sometime by maybe the 15th or so? of
probably,
March?
yes. Yeah, I'll get a better timeline. I think it is in there, in the more detailed timeline, but we'll have that. So,
Thank you very
yeah.
much. That's it. Thank you all very much for the work that you're doing. And thank you all very much for the healthy discussion we've had up here.
Thank you.
I'd like to take a shot at updating our procedures. And if that sounds like a reasonable idea. I think They're pretty old, aren't they?
Which procedures are we,
The board's procedures, how they do business. Pretty old stuff.
yes,
Well,
no,
we started this governance thing that had that kind of a document in it. Maybe we could resurrect that portion of it that
Right.
has the process and what our responsibilities are.
So I'll take a look at it, and when I come up with something, I'll present it to
Yeah.
you.
Very good. Mr. Wine?
Nothing else from me.
Well, thank you again for the presentation. I personally, thank you for your comments, but personally, you know, we've kicked this can around quite a bit, and I come out of a business where we don't kick cans around much, you know, we make a decision one day and do it the next day, and so I understand the process with that, and I think it's great dialogue that we have with the commission, and I think it's good, constructive, positive, conversation, and, you know, I certainly want the public to know everything that we're doing. And just with Commissioner Devine's concern with debt, you know, none of us like taking on $80 million worth of debt. You know, it's like you're signing your name, you're on the commission, but you're signing your name to that, and there's a long history of why we had to do that, and, you know, and how we got to this point, but I think it was a good dialogue, good meeting, and I do think that's the direction we need to go, because that western area out there has got to be developed and developed right, and people can fuss and fight all they want, but even, you know, my neighbors and stuff, but that's just gonna happen out there. That's what it's going. Deering Park is gonna be huge. It's gonna be a city within a city out there. So we have to support it, and we have to plan our future to do that. So I appreciate all the work again, Jeff, with that. And
Thank you.
Well, one thing I wanted to ask you, are we gonna set a date for our joint meeting? Has that been set?
no, we have not set that. You're talking the joint workshop with the city?
The reason I say that, we're right at the beginning of the year, this might be a great time to have a joint workshop and go over some issues.
I
If
think
that's
we could,
something
yeah, we can,
that- If you all agree.
yeah,
Well, I think we want to get the bond issuance out of the way before we do it, so maybe
Okay.
sometime the
March,
third week of April or first
That
week
sounds
of
good to
May,
me.
do
somewhere
we
in
want to get the
there.
vote on this out of the way, which way we're heading direction to?
Right.
probably, yeah,
Yeah.
I would agree
Before
with
we have a
that.
joint.
Before we, yeah,
So
let's,
April, May,
Yep, and
Yeah.
then we'll have another board member on by then.
Yep.
yes.
Yep.
Yep.
Yep. And, you know, Efren team, staff, you guys do a great job. It's a tough business, service industry business is a difficult business. And you guys do a great job, always hear great comments, and appreciate all the information and feedback. And Cody, congratulations on the new position and stuff, and it was a good presentation.
I'd like to add one comment, and this
Okay.
comes from Yogi Berra, one of my favorite guys, and he said, "It's tough making predictions, especially about the future."
before, we do have one other item, attendance at the annual conference for
Oh, sorry about
FMEA.
that, yep.
Yeah, that's the only thing. So I know Commissioner Conrad has gone, Commissioner Smith is gone. Was not certain if anyone else would like to attend.
You gonna do it then, Jeff?
I'm not sure.
They have the most expensive oysters in the world there.
I love the breakers.
What's the
I
date
may
of that
go
again?
Efren, just depending on
Okay.
whether I'm still retired or not.
We'll provide details. We'll provide details and then more details, and this way then you can take a look at your calendar. So we'll send an email out with that information, Devon, Commissioner Devon.
No further questions?